It wasn't on.
I think they heard me.
Yep.
Just waiting for Lenny to connect.
I was not connecting to YouTube?
Are you recording anyway?
Recording. I'm recording, but I keep trying to. Okay, looks like it's going.
It's going? Okay.
We're
Are the
good?
mics on?
Yeah.
Mike's on.
Okay.
Good evening. Can I ask everyone to please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's town board meeting. It is March 25th, 2025. First thing on our agenda tonight is bids and awards. First thing is authorization to award the 2025 bids for Highway Department related materials and services, as well as Central Garage related materials, effective April 1st, 2025. It's an extensive list that's available in the town clerk's office if you'd like to review it. We obviously go to the low bidder on all these items. Actually, the original low bidder for some materials dropped out, so we went to the next one. But anyway, it's a low bidder anyway. So Resolution 16225 will authorize us to go with the bidders on the highway materials.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second?
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to award the Town Hall HVAC service contract. The service bid is to Clean Air Quality Service. It's the only bid that was returned. They've been taking care of the building for a number of years. Let's see, we got a number here.
Yeah, it
Contract's
is.
quite long. It's extensive. All right.
The description of everything they take care of, and what they don't take care of. Okay. Total price for the year is $34,320. It's divided into 24 equal monthly payments, $1,430 a month.
Move for approval, please?
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the supervisor's report. Next item will be to call for a public hearing to consider a local law amending Town Code Section 218-109, dealing with the Town Zoning Code Amendment procedure and notices required thereunder. You want to read it, or you want me to read it? Authorization is requested to call for a public hearing for proposed local law modifying Town Code Section 218-109, which would require that applicants filing a petition for zone change with the town board provide notice by mail to neighboring property owners and post signs on their properties. This was not required under town law or the town code previously. We have a date for a public hearing, April 8th.
It states here in the notice, April 22nd.
Yeah.
Oh, does
To,
it have to be 30
for
days?
Westchester County.
Yeah, we had to send it for the county comments.
So the 22nd?
Yeah.
22nd. So Resolution 16425 will schedule a public hearing for April
22nd.
22nd.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second?
Second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, authorization to amend the purchase order. Authorization is requested to amend purchase order 830-2204 in the amount of $2,910,155 awarded to Aquaworks to include additional funding for the amount of $337,000 to fund additional work. The request is required to cover the rock excavation due to unforeseen field conditions and road restoration work on Poe Road that was required to complete the project. We were unable to avoid the additional rock removal due to the area of permitted work within the right-of-way. Funding for this increase will be covered by the American Recovery Plan funds that had initially funded the storm water management work on Poe Road. It is our recommendation to authorize this increase in funding for this important stormwater management project.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is purchase order 1412501, requesting authorization for the enhanced graphics proposal from General Code to incorporate maps and graphic associated with local law number 6-2022, Hamlet zoning districts, in our online town code. Changes include multiple maps, diagrams, images, graphics, etc. that cannot be conveyed with simple text. The proposal will make the zoning code more clear and accessible to the public. Total for this one-time fee is $7,999.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization for street closing permits.
That's it.
The first one is Megan Doherty, authorization to close Clinton Street from Columbus Avenue to Waverly Place on Saturday, May 10th,
Thank you.
2025, from noon to 11 p.m. A rain date is being requested for Sunday, May 11th, from noon to 10 p.m. Next one is Jenny Stan, authorization to close Munson Road from Deerfield South to Munson Pond Lane on Saturday, May 17th, from 12 p.m. till 11 p.m. Rain date is being requested for Sunday, May 18th, from 12 to 8 p.m. Next one is Michelle Walsh, authorization to close Warren Avenue from 153 Warren Avenue to Prince Street and at the intersection of Gold Street and Cliff Street on Saturday, October 4th, from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. A rain date is being requested for Sunday, October 5th, at the same time.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to adopt a resolution establishing sign posting requirements for planning and zoning applications pursuant to Town Code Section 218-10.1C. Resolution, included in this is a resolution relating to planning and zoning signs. We updated our sign code to make it clear for people to know what's going on if a development is happening within the neighborhood. So this resolution will authorize us to adopt a resolution establishing the new sign code requirements.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is, based on the recommendation of the Conservation Advisory Council and after Town Board review, the authorization is requested to adopt a resolution establishing the town's natural resource inventory. The full resolution is attached for review. View on the Town of Mount Pleasant Resource Inventory, which is also available for review on the Town of Mount Pleasant website on the Conservation Advisory Council webpage.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to approve a resolution for Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad, New York Scenic Byway, nomination and corridor management plan adoption. The town historian was contacted by Vicki Jemison Flood, a member of the steering committee of the Underground Railroad Consortium of New York State, is seeking to designate a tourist corridor along which the stories of freedom-seeking people such as Harriet Tubman, the Underground Railroad, and abolitionists can be told. The 550-mile tourist byway will wend its way from Ontario, Canada to western New York, through the Hudson Valley to Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and end in Maryland. In each community through which it passes, the byway will recount the triumphant story of a people seeking freedom while demonstrating triumph over adversity. In New York State, byway will pass through 22 counties, including Westchester, specifically the cities of Yonkers, Peekskill, Hudson, as well as towns of Cortland, Greenberg, Mount Pleasant, and Ossining. In order to obtain byway eligibility from New York State DOT, resolutions of support are required from the county and local governments through which the byway passes.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the authorization to amend term dates for Edward Eisman, Mount Pleasant Public Library Board of Trustees. Edward Eisman was appointed, did I say Eisenman? Eisenman was appointed to the Mount Pleasant Library Board of Trustees effective March 12, 25. Mr. Eisman's appointment will now be a 5-year term. However, his term dates were listed incorrectly in Resolution 14325. Mr. Eisman is filling the swing position, which is an alternating fixed term between the town and the village. This term is the town's term, running from 1/1/25 to 12/31/29. So Mr. Eisman's term is from 1/1/25 to 12/31/2029.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And we do thank him for offering his services
Yes.
to the Mount Pleasant Library. Next item is a purchase order, 830-2504, emergency work to replace chemical treatment tank at the 121 Loza Drive facility. Authorization to issue a purchase order for emergency work by Alon Industries Incorporated to replace a 1,900-gallon polyethylene tank and 2 pumps utilized for the disinfection treatment. This is necessary since the well on the existing tank flange is leaking. Work included is to replace the 1,900-gallon tank, 2 Sethco pumps used to apply sodium hypochlorite for disinfection. Additionally, the purchase order includes removal and replacement of all piping, valves, and fittings on the suction line to the new transfer pumps and discharge line from the new transfer pumps at the day tank. Price includes labor, materials, paint, signage, and equipment rentals. It is recommended to approve this purchase order. Total amount is $49,617.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have the receiver of taxes report. To be filed. At this time, we have business on the floor. Anybody wish to address the board is welcome to do so at this time.
Jim Russell from Hawthorne. I was very pleased to learn that the board is considering a law to require future applicants for rezoning to provide notifications to nearby residents in the neighborhood and also to post signs. But I do hope that that same consideration will be provided to those residents in the neighborhood of 75 North Kensico Avenue, where there's a huge project being proposed, an apartment building with 34 units and 43 parking spaces. I'd ask the board to reopen the hearing from March 11th and provide notification to the neighboring residents so that they can fully participate in a hearing on this vital matter. It is very important to do this before these we go to a planning board or a zoning board. It's not just a small matter of zoning. For those who find this whole project to be unsuitable, it's the only opportunity that they would have to speak out against it. So I hope that you would do this, and I hope if you have the hearing and the developer speaks, that you have some time for questions and then proceed into comments from the floor instead of going directly from a presentation into comments and voting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kurt Myers, Valhalla. I definitely appreciate the fact that you're now thinking about the zoning. I know nothing about zoning laws. You got a good lawyer here. I'm sure you guys know about zoning laws. I just know my experience living in, say, New York City. If they rezoned my block, there would be signage. I would know. I went through a couple of those. I totally approved the zoning change. It's no big deal at all. I apologize if I was not very coherent on the 11th, because I literally knew nothing about it until I sat down and saw that thing up there, and I started thinking about, my God, what if you had zoned it for a lead plant right next to my house, right? Is there any reason why I should be notified? Maybe, maybe not. So just out of good governance, I really appreciate the fact that you're considering letting people know if their neighborhoods are being rezoned. So thank you for that. Do want to call up a couple of inconsistencies from that night as well. In their presentation, they said that that property was vacant. It's not. It's got at least 3 renters that I know of because I live next to it. So just be aware that everything they gave you was not necessarily factual at that time. The other thing that I'd like to say is, yeah, no, I appreciate you opening it up and allowing people to know about that, but you had also said that you were unsure if they sent notices before. I assume this means for now you know that they did not send notices to me, because I do remember getting 2 or 3 certified letters about the tunnel project, which doesn't affect me anywhere near as much as this rezoning did. So just asking for comment if anybody knows, were notifications sent out, or is this just a new thing that we're going to be implementing now?
I don't think on the zone change there was to move the Hamlet zoning there. The tunnel project required site plan approval, which would require notice. So when this goes to the planning board, right now the code requires notice for the site plan review. So you will get notice of that, and there'll be meetings before the planning board where you can give your yay or nay or whatever, anything in between. So there is time for you to talk before the planning board.
Okay, good. I just left the last meeting and everybody was kind of unsure. I thought they were saying, like, I thought you got notices, or you were taking, I was like, I didn't notice. So
Yeah.
that's absolutely fine. Like I said, it's well within probably the law. I know nothing about zoning law, so I appreciate that that's being changed, but just saying that, you know, good neighbors and good governance, you would think would have that transparency so we know when zoning is happening. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hi, Danielle. Anthony Pesh. I live back at 87 Madison Avenue, so I knew your brother and purchased his house many years ago. 2 years ago, I ended up buying the house, which you're probably very aware of, next door, which was always a disgrace in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then I asked the town to see if I can make it a two-family, which is what mine is, but the law has changed, and it's now a non-conforming, still allowed two-family, because that was the law when it was built,
Predated zoning.
predated. But they said no to a two-family in a residential area. I'm kind of, since this new project is literally, not even a half a mile from my house, how are we going to a 34-unit building?
Anthony?
This whole project, the Hamlet, we did the master plan, took like 3 years. There was an area that was designated as the Valhalla Hamlet District or something like that.
Yes. Yes.
And that area was because we felt it was walking distance to the train, and to shops and stuff like that. It was a good area to.
My house is in the same walking distance, but I got declined to try to see if I could make
I
it a
don't know-
two-family.
I don't know what the,
Well, it's
basis
because
was for
it's a
your-
no, because it's a one-family zone.
right.
Wait, I know exactly where you live. In fact, I know your house. In fact, I know your wife. Hi. There is something called transit-oriented housing, and we have been informed by the New York State Governor that that is something on her agenda. So, when the town board was discussing the master plan, and we knew that the state was looking at transit-oriented housing, there were a lot of discussion about it, because as you know, in our town, anything that's 500 yards, Darius? Around a transit hub, which is around the train station, would fall into that. So when we decided to work forward with the master plan, it was to revitalize the downtown areas and make them walking communities for the residents, and to revitalize and rehab some of the old buildings that were there to provide some more housing. It fell kind of in that definition. Now, in Mount Pleasant, the Valhalla train station and the Hawthorne train station, as you know, those areas are densely populated. So it's really kind of impossible for us to build at the level that the New York State Governor would require or request. Again, that is very controversial, and I can say that it has kind of been put to the back burner by the governor, but we know that transit-oriented housing in communities is what the new master plan would support, and that's why that was done. As far as your neighborhood, I live in Valhalla for 42 years, and I know the neighborhood well, and I do not believe it is zoned, but I'd have to refer to the zoning and
you
our
R10?
attorney for
R10?
multifamily homes.
It's a single-family zone only.
Yeah, I don't know what zoning it is,
Yeah.
but.
But,
the
but even
thought
so,
process was
even
not
so, you
do
want to
that.
build more housing for transit, but 34 or 36 units or whatever this is, which isn't even on a full acre of land, it's a little excessive.
Well, that'll be decided at the
Yeah,
planning board.
that's
Well, I
not,
think the town board did
We didn't
allow for the
approve
density.
the size of the unit.
Okay.
Anything like that.
Yeah, they may lower it, they may change it, they may change the way it looks, they may change a lot about it. The thought process was to not change single-family zoning, but that area was right, almost contiguous to the Hamlet area, walk to the train. The board made a conscious decision not to change single-family zoning to multifamily, because then you could have that in your neighborhood, which I'm sure you probably don't want, and they didn't want. So they
Right.
made that decision not to change zoning in single-family areas.
Sounds good.
The,
So I think that's just everyone's concern, obviously. It's
Understood.
very strongly supported that whatever it comes out to be is a little excessive for what's being proposed in that area.
The development that's just north of this, there's a cluster of homes together on
Yes.
this, Lakeview?
Lakeview,
Lakeview?
yes. That's a
That's us, we're the 24 homes, we're representative.
That, if I was on the planning board at that time, I would never would have approved it. I think they're too tight, and there's very little room between each home. I almost rather see a three-level building with the same amount of residences than all those homes next to each other like that, but that's my own personal opinion on that.
Right.
Like I said, you will have the opportunity when the planning board presents, or the developer presents this to the public, to voice
Okay.
your opinion about the quantity, the height, the color, anything. You're allowed to make that known. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
There's going to be a pattern here. All right. Oh, this is going to be tall. So I'm Denise Mira. I'm at 28 Lakeside, and with there's 4 of us, but there are 24 homes. Yes, they are very tight. They should not have been built that way, but they were, and I bought it. I'm not the original owner. Now, I know that I do a lot of walking in the neighborhood, and I do a lot of driving up and down that hill. That hill is a little dangerous, even with the traffic that's on there. Number one, it is very, not graded, it should be paved. I know that it's cement. I know that it's a very steep hill. Also, the way the line jogs over. Also, there's random cars parked. I know that when they were just doing one house, a single-family house, the disruption up and down that hill. Okay, it's very icy, it's a dangerous hill. It really is not a great neighborhood to put, 34 other, residents. And where are they gonna park? You know that a lot of people are married couples, they have 2 cars. Then you have the 2 bedrooms, they're gonna have probably another car. Even if you have 1 spot for every apartment, you know that that's not gonna be enough. And also, let's talk about when there's activities at the dam already, the congestion up there. And residents will have to park all the way down. Now you're introducing at least 34 more cars. And let's talk about why is there even commuter parking now allowed on that hill? Because in the bottom of it, it's 8 spots that are commuter spots, or 10 or 12. It says commuter permit, commuter, that you need a permit. Yeah, I don't know how that actually happened.
I thought that was only for the business owners.
No, it's now commuter parking. I mean, that lot's pretty big that we
It's not
have on the other
supposed- It's not supposed
side.
to be commuter parking there.
Because that hill, you're talking about
I
people
looked into
aging
that.
in place. I know that when I moved here 25 years ago, I struggled to get up that hill. I had to take 1 or 2 stops to reach the top of that hill. These older folks that are supposedly going to move there for aging in place and the commuters, I mean, power to them. They better really go to the gym to get up and down that hill. I mean, I did it in snowstorms. I mean, that thing is hard. So it's just the scope is huge. Just please, just give thought to the parking. 1 spot for each apartment is not enough. And also, maybe there'll be egress that they can actually walk up, Cleveland or something, that other road, that back, Cedar Extension, whatever that is. So that not everybody is on. And, then who knows, we might need a light at the bottom now, with the churches. I mean, if you foresee, because honestly, when they have even the festivals, our neighborhood is crazy. So just be mindful, these people already bought this property. I am sure they put good money into this property. They're gonna wanna have something, but that scope is huge. And especially, we heard rooftop amenities, that's all we need, is to have people partying on the roof. And who's gonna be able to look over and see the houses on both sides? I mean, I would feel very exposed in my backyard if I have 3-story with rooftop amenities. So just, I know this is all gonna be when we actually do with the builders and everything, but please be mindful. You wouldn't want to have this behemoth in your backyard. I mean, I'm walking up and there's 8 little houses, and then there's gonna be this huge thing. So please, just think about us that live in that neighborhood and have to deal with this.
One thing I
They're
want,
all good points, and I think the planning board should hear those.
Thank you.
and that's
Right, I think.
That's when they were
I think
addressed.
the planning board
But
is the one
Denise, I
that
want to ask a
this now,
question,
not
Denise.
us.
I know
think
you
there's
and I know the
something
neighborhood. I've been to the homes there many times. How many parking spaces do you have per unit?
Well, I am lucky, I have my garage and 2 more.
Okay, because I have a question. Why are there so many cars parked from Lakeside, where you live, up on Kensico Road? Why are there so many there? park there every day?
Well-
It's the same cars?
I will tell you that some of them are that house, that white house, that Methodist church has at least 2 veterans that park on there. And there are people in our development that might have 3 cars, and maybe their driveway's too small, that they can't have, or some people are using their garage for storage. So yes, we have some, but, I mean, we're only 24. I mean,
No, I understand your point. Your
And-
units are much bigger, though. They are much bigger than what these
Yeah,
proposed
but-
apartments
but
are.
Usually, there's no more than 3 cars per, I mean, I don't even know, there's very few people that even have more than 3 cars. Most people only have 2 cars, and we fit in our driveways.
Now, if you want to speak,
Come
take
to
your
the
time
mic,
and come up
please.
here and speak.
Yeah.
No, it was just a question. No, and I think the board, I think we hear you. And again, these questions go to the planning board.
Yeah.
We're not making a decision on this project as we
And
sit here.
also, we heard about this through Facebook, that this was being built. I mean, I know that that's going to be addressed, and you're not going to do that again to people. Everybody's going to have, like, notices ahead of time. But it was horrible to find out on Facebook. I was like, and then I saw the pictures of the thing. I was like, my God, it's huge. And I know that this place is in Rockland County, that you're driving, it's house, and then a huge apartment. But when you're driving, you're like, whoa, where did that come from? You know, it's
No.
aesthetically.
We understand. We
Okay.
understand where you're coming from. Believe
Okay.
me, I live in Valhalla. I
Okay.
understand where
Yeah,
you're coming
to your
from.
house, too.
Yes,
All
yes,
right,
you have.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, come
You
to,
like to come up here, please?
sign in and come and speak if you want to.
I was just going to answer your question about the cars.
I'm going to look into if there is commuters parking.
Yeah.
But sometimes I
No.
cheat.
No, I heard-
Down to the end.
I heard what you said, so I'm going to have it checked out tomorrow.
You
We
cheat.
had given merchants permits for parking there, if you own a business there, because we were trying to take some of the traffic away from Broadway there, so customers can park there and go to the
There are
businesses.
signs that says for commuter for 4 hours. When I moved there 30 years ago, that bottom of the hill were for shoppers and owners, but now when they built that, when they extended the parking lot, they put the sign up there that says for commuters for 4 hours. So none of the
I'm not aware of that, but I will know tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so I always wonder, like, the parking lot is built. Now,
Yeah.
with so many people not commuting, the parking lot is like a half empty.
Yeah, I
Right?
know.
So, it would be nice if we had extra parking for shopping down the hill.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
was the
one thing.
intention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You asked about the cars on Westlake Drive. A lot of them is for the walkers to the park.
Yeah, walking over the dam.
Walking over the dam, going down to the park. So I have 3 cars. I have one in the garage, I have one in the driveway, and I park one on Westlake Drive. Sometimes I have to park all the way up there because there are no cars during the day. And then at nighttime, it shrinks. Like there's maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 cars really from the residents on the hill and on Lakeside Drive. But if they do build that and there are extra cars, then that road is gonna get, even more congested. Now, when they built that community, the town gave us permission to be able to park there. Before, it was like, especially snow plow days, I think you couldn't park there, but they gave us special permission to be able to park when we moved there. So we were able to park there. There was some parking lot on the hill, top of the hill, when I moved there. They got rid of that because it is very dangerous when people are coming up, they can't see the cars coming. And at that time, 22 was open, the dam was open. But now with that dam closed, all the traffic goes down the hill. So that hill, the condition has been the same since I moved 30 years ago. They never filled the potholes, they just recently filled some of the holes. But that condition of that road got worse and worse because now the traffic is rerouted down to North Kensico instead of going over the dam. So traffic is a problem, especially early in the morning, during rush hour, in the evening when there's rush hour. So, and the bottom of the hill, like she said, making a left, making a right by the end of the hill, by Broadway, it's a risk. So when I was teaching my kids how to drive, I said, if you can make this road, you can make it you can make turn anywhere. Because there's no, like, I always thought that having a mirror there so that you can see the cars coming from the dam would be helpful, but it's not there, and you really have to take a chance. So the traffic is a consideration.
Traffic in Valhalla Village is a consideration since they closed the dam.
Yeah.
This board, and I believe even the previous supervisor, asked if the dam could be reopened. We have been told repeatedly by the federal government, absolutely not.
No.
Unfortunately, we deal with it. Where I live is behind Pat's Deli. When I worked for the health department, I'd have to leave an hour and a half earlier to get there because the traffic is backed up to Clinton Street, where I live off of, down to the village. So it's not only North Kensico, it's the entire village.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. I don't know what we can't really do anything more about it because the dam will never open.
Yeah.
That's what we've been told. It will never open again for safety reasons.
I mean, I think it's fine, we just have to live around it.
We
And
do,
then there's a
yeah.
light by the dam entrance now. Because
Yes.
that intersection was a nightmare. I mean, it is inconvenient when it's really busy, but at least there's a light and it's really safe.
Yeah, that helped.
So
yeah.
That
was
did help.
really a
The
plus.
light did help.
Anyway, I don't want to go.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else like to address the board?
I'm not very prepared because I too just looked at Facebook today and found out this was happening.
Sorry, what's your name?
I'm Donna Baddick, and I'm on Prospect Avenue. I agree with everything people have been saying as far as the hill and navigating the hill. And I think what this town needs is 1- and 2-family houses. Our kids can't find houses in Mount Pleasant anymore. They don't want a 1-bedroom apartment. We want a house. So I think that for the residents of this town to have more opportunities to buy a home and stay here and raise a family. People, and like people said, people aren't going to walk downtown. They're not going to do it. The hill is crazy, especially if you're thinking about older people. And the dam has so much traffic coming through it all the time. We just need to, and like I said, this was just very surprising. There was no hint of this. I don't know where do we find out this kind of stuff before it gets to this point?
This development came in front of us over a year ago.
Okay.
So this has been, you know, everything's posted on our agendas. I don't know if you're signed up for the emails. But this development's been in the works for over a year. And I know it's hard to sort of keep up with everything. I know, you know, I believe we weren't required by law to notice anybody about the zoning change, which you saw our faces at, well, you weren't here, but at the meeting, all of us looked at each other like, really? Like, we thought that that wasn't right, which is why we're putting it in our code now.
That's correct.
But this project has been out there for over a year.
But that's the other thing that somebody else said. I mean, how can you go from zoning a single-family house to saying, okay, we'll let 34 apartment buildings
No.
or
That
34
happened in-
units come up?
That happened in the master plan years ago.
But it doesn't make any sense. How can it make sense
Well,
to have a...
What it did was it allowed for multifamily development. Didn't allow for 34 homes yet. You don't know.
Right.
That's why you go to the planning board. They may
Right.
cut it down to much lesser units. We don't know. So the process, the public process will be before the planning board over the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 months, where you can make these comments to them about this number of units, about traffic issues. That's what the planning board's for. All they said was we think this area is close to the downtown, and they extended the hamlet zone to one property up the hill. That's it. That's all they did. So now, the planning process will take its place and happen. And you will go there and say, I think 34 units is too many. It should be 20 units. There should be 10, whatever you think. Should be no units, whatever you want, but people can build their property, otherwise you gotta pay for it.
Right.
And it's a lot of money to pay for someone's property if you say there's 0 units, but
I guess
you
they-
can't do that. They're allowed to do something there.
Yes.
They wanna
Right.
redevelop, and I think everyone probably wants something there nicer than it is now, is probably my guess. Maybe not,
You
but
know-
that's what the planning process is for.
Right. Like I said, I think what we need in this town are places for our children to buy and to settle into. One-family houses, two-family houses, duplexes, something, I just don't see having one-bedroom apartments as a plus for our community, or for our neighborhood, and for the traffic, and all the other things. I don't see that. I would love to see more homes for our children. My daughter's in the process of looking for a house in Mount Pleasant right now. I mean, besides the prices, there's no inventory, you know? So we need,
No land.
you know, I think that would be a better solution, or something to be looking into.
The town has no control over how many homes could be built or anything like. It's up to a developer to come through with a proposal for building. There's not a lot of land left to build. And there's some projects we would not want built because of the volume, the amount of units that they want to put in, we want to stay away from. We realize the Toll Brothers project is an expensive project. I know my son can't buy a townhouse over there. I couldn't even buy one either. But we have no control over the cost of homes
No,
in the
no,
town, nor the volume of, the amount of homes available. The only thing the town allows is like accessory apartments. Like you can, in your single-family home, if you meet all the requirements, you can have an accessory apartment. It was designed years ago for like seniors to help them with their taxes or whatever. Gets a little more income, plus it gives like a young couple or a single person starting out, maybe wanting a little apartment to start out. That's the only control we have as far as adding residential units.
okay. But extending the hamlet so that this could happen, that's a big step. That was a big step.
Well, this is going to add apartments in the area, in that particular area.
I don't see it Mount Pleasant as being a place that needs that many apartments, personally. You know, you want to go to an apartment, go to White Plains, you know, go to Stanford, you know. Mount Pleasant is residential, it's family, it's close-knit, you know. You know your neighbor, you know. That's,
I'm sorry, I thought you were looking for more residential units in the town.
no, I'm
That's why I was
saying,
talking
like I'm
about
saying,
residential
in the
units.
property, this is the property that we're looking at, instead of putting 34 apartments in that area, maybe you do 3 two-family houses. That would, I think, is more in tune to what Mount Pleasant and Valhalla would want.
It's always a possibility, and the planning board is going to have to think that out. What will work best there? And that's why your comments are very important to the planning board.
Okay, when's the next planning board meeting?
I don't know when that's scheduled on, yet?
They are on the first Thursday and third Monday
Monday of the month.
of the month. They're on the website, the agendas will be on, so I would check the website. There will be notices sent, there will be a sign put up, so you have to, if you look and notice,
Notices sent where?
there'll be notices sent to certain property owners, but there'll be a sign in front of the property that they're before the planning board. And there will be, I would check the agendas of the planning board, they're on,
They're confusing for some of us laypersons.
The
you know,
agendas?
Some of the stuff that's on.
you can come to town hall if you want an agenda, it can be
But
printed out to you.
It's posted right on the property.
There'll be a sign
Okay.
that says this matter is before the planning board
On
on,
the date.
correct.
Okay, because I'm a walker, I'll scope that.
You'll see that, yeah.
Okay.
They'll be required to do that and show proof that they did it.
Thank you for thinking of us, and we'll be back, I'm sure, at the zoning.
Thank you.
Planning board.
Planning board,
Planning.
planning board, not zoning
I don't know if
board.
they're ready to go yet at the planning board yet. It'll be at the planning board at some point. It may not be, what day of the week? The 25th, it may not be the first, it may be the first Thursday of April, because they may not be ready to go. So it could be the second meeting, it could be May, it could be June, so just,
What's the April 22nd meeting keep on referencing?
The April 22nd meeting is an issue, nothing to do with 75 Kensico. Has to do with changing the law that's currently on the books to require that if someone wants to change a property on a zoning, for instance, to go to the Hamlet, they have to be showing a sign and give notices to certain properties around the area and notice.
Someone be this developer.
Could someone, it could be, yeah, and
Right, so he could take advantage of this April 22nd meeting.
it's not an advantage, it's, the issue was that people came up and said, we didn't get notice.
Yes.
Okay, so the board, the code did not require it, state law did not require it. So now the board is saying, we think on any project like this in the future, has to give notice.
So we're putting it in the code that it's now required.
Doing construction like I did 2 years ago, I had to give notice to all my neighbors.
The planning board, you have to do it. The zoning board, you have to do it. That's
Why don't
mandated.
they- why
They will have to do it. They have, that's in the code now.
How many square yards of
The
area?
zone, the text amendment to change the zone to the H8 zone did not require the law.
Where is that? That's what we're asking. I called and was told I had, if I wanted that information, I had to forward it.
Where is, it's in the, where does it say that it's not required?
What section says
The-
that
the
that
code that's-
signage would not be required, or
Yes.
The code that's
What
changing
requirements?
is, it's in the, tonight, it's section,
218?
yeah, 218 is the whole zoning code, but I don't get the exact section. It's 218.
10.c.
Yeah, you'll see it. As it currently is now, you can go on E-code, Town of Mount Pleasant E-code, you can go to 21810C, and you can read it where, if you read it, it doesn't mandate it. Now, there's a proposed change that's available in Emily's office that'll show the mandate.
Why can't these folks have it being reopened and have the same opportunity to express their feelings about rezoning? Rezoning, once it's rezoned, you're finished, basically.
We can't have, like, if you want to speak, you're welcome to come up.
Come up and
sorry.
speak.
My name's Dawn, and I
Dawn?
live at...
What's your last name, please?
Franz, F-R-A-N-Z, and I live at 32 Lakeside Drive, and once again, we just found out, not getting notice was super upsetting, even though you say it's on forums and stuff, sometimes if we're not given that notice, but the fact that it's all rentals, and at our Lakeside Drive, we've had some of the homes that have been rented, and we've had a lot of problems with renters, and another, just a piece of it is like, people don't, a lot of times, this has been our experience, people don't care, it's not their home, they're renting a space. So the outside area, the garbage that's been up and down the roadways, the garbage that's been thrown into our yards because of the traffic that comes through there. You're constantly cleaning up, you're constantly, there's traffic, it's just a very upsetting thing to see and to think of having that huge of a building or a monstrosity right behind your home. And it's not like it's down the, it's right in our backyard, literally. So I feel like that should be something that's looked at as well, because that's huge. So the amount just seems overwhelming for that space and for what we've seen from renters in our little area already.
And that will be discussed at the
Okay.
planning board.
Thank you.
They have an HOA. Why is the HOA not just addressing that?
Hi, I'm Val Panzik, Prospect Avenue. So I just want clarity as to what this gentleman said about being notified. Who gets notified? You said a select group of homeowners get notified. How do you propose what owners get notified about this project?
For what issue? For the planning board?
For this project
Yeah,
that is
so,
coming, that is forthcoming?
so it's under our code. Let me look at it. I don't have it memorized.
But sir, you're on Prospect, so you're not continuous or contiguous to this proposed project. Is that correct?
Most of us are within
I'm about
500 feet.
300 feet
Then
away.
you would get notice.
I know where your home is.
It's like,
Is there, Darius, is there,
Yeah, I thought it was
A limit?
500 feet.
yeah, I think it's
Is
I
it
gotta look
500
at
feet?
the, I think it's 500 feet. That's usually what zoning variance is in, that's what I think our planning requires too.
okay.
But I don't have it memorized.
So for a project this size is 500 feet, regardless if it's this size or regardless if it's a one-family home?
There'll be a public sign required. There'll be
Where?
notices right in front of the property,
Okay, so we have to drive on North Kensco to see that sign.
number one. Number
Okay.
two, it'll be in the newspaper.
What newspaper?
It'll be in the local paper, which I know the,
Now we have the Journal
now
News.
the local paper is gone, so it's the Journal News, and it'll be here at Town Hall.
So the Journal
Notice.
News is distributed through where?
Throughout
How do we get
Westchester.
that?
Journal,
local
it's
newspaper.
online, and it's
It's online?
available at,
Yeah.
that's the requirement. State law and the local law requires certain notices.
Okay.
You can't, you can say to a developer, send a notice to everyone in the town. There's 14,000 properties in the town,
Okay,
or whatever there is. You're not gonna be able to do that.
understood.
So what do? There's a balance here.
Right.
There's a sign put up, there's notice in the newspaper, there's notice on our website.
Okay.
There's notice here at Town Hall in 3 different places, and there's availability online to see.
Plus
And then-
letters that get
plus,
mailed out.
Letters within 500 feet, and agendas are posted for every board, many times a month, online.
Okay. I
So
get it.
people that are aware, basically you should be aware, and then, okay, let's say your next door neighbor knows. They say down the street, the Prospect, you didn't get a notice? No, I live too far away. Okay, there's a hearing tonight, we should go comment on this, whether we like it or not. That's the way it happens in pretty much every municipality in New York.
But like a lot of people here, I just found out about this yesterday through, I believe his name is Jim? Yes. Because he posted on Facebook, thankfully. And he posted a couple of documents on there, specifically the one related to the Westchester County Review Board. So just quickly reading it today for a couple of minutes, there's a lot of red flags that they are proposing within their review. Primarily, essentially, items that the developer and architect should provide in their review, not provided, and then it says the town should be aware of this, possibly to do this. So is there a possibility that the town is going to be paying for upgraded roads, upgraded sidewalks, upgraded train station, upgrades anywhere due to this project coming on board?
This is
Based
the
on the
North-
Westchester Board review.
This is the North Kensico project?
Yeah, Carl, so on the,
So the planning board is going to have to deal with all
yeah,
these things.
that's the answer.
Yeah.
So we're required to notify the county of this project, which we did. And they made comments generally on planning. They say it's consistent, a project like this is consistent with planning board policies of the county. They want affirmatively further fair housing. They want now, if you look through 3, 4, which is construction on steep slopes, stormwater management, transportation, demand management, traffic impacts, pedestrian access, Kensico water protection, sewage, bicycle parking, are all issues for the planning board to look at. So if they'll say, okay, you have 34 units. I don't know what the planning board's gonna say. We think that's too many. You're gonna create X number of cars leaving. We think it should be much less, so go back to the drawing board with a smaller project. We don't like the way this looks. We don't like that the rooftop parties are gonna be there in the neighboring property. We don't want that on there. They say, make it smaller and put a recreation, that's what they do. I'm not saying they're gonna do this. I don't know what they're doing.
So the planning board is in this house?
Meets right here.
Yes.
Meets here?
Yes.
First
I'm not
Monday,
familiar with it, so I just.
sorry, first Thursday of the month,
Okay,
and third Monday of the month.
so when's the anticipated planning board meeting for this project?
Hasn't
We
been-
don't know.
They
hasn't been
control
applied
when
for
they
yet.
submit, so we
The
don't know.
planning board does,
No, the applicant.
the applicant.
So they have to get their plans together. There's certain requirements to submit to the planning board. Plans, you see those sheets?
Okay.
So they gotta do all
Or
that.
will be notified?
Well, you'll be notified, there'll be agendas, they will be on email, there's an email system for the town. If anyone wants to get notification of projects, this would be one where we can email blast, this will be on the planning board on May 10th. Please
Right.
come, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever time it is, town hall. So if you want to get on, I would recommend that, you think you can go on the website and do that, Carl? You can sign up for the email blast?
Yep.
Okay,
And this project, like, when we did the Hamlet zoning, way back when, we sent email blasts. When we did, the North 60 review, there were email blasts. So that gets people informed
I
of
mean,
what's
listen,
happening.
I think for our town, I think the developer has his right to build and beautify the neighborhood, but, 34 units, I mean, just
Maybe.
alone, the impact
Maybe.
for the environment, stormwater management, vegetation, the whole plethora of the review board that they
Right.
did, I mean, that's something the planning board looks at, I get it, I know you guys are not involved in that, but just to realize that the traffic that's going to occur going up that hill, and I saw their plans going from Lakeside and going down, and that was the access points, but we all know that the traffic's going to be worse. we're going to have traffic on Madison Avenue, we're going to have traffic on Prospect Avenue, we're going to have traffic on Jefferson Avenue. We have kids running there day and night. So this is going to cause a big havoc in that sense on a family basis. That's what I think.
Do you believe the traffic from this project will be going up on Madison? and
Because
Prospect?
if you get caught going up North Kensico, you're going to go around, to go back down North Kensico, so this way you don't have to hit that traffic. So in other words, people will be cutting through Holy Name of Jesus Church, they'll be cutting through the whole town. I mean, town's going to be bombarded with traffic. Alone right now, I work in Woodside, and I come home at 6 o'clock, and it's jammed. I mean, it's jammed from 287, it's jammed from the Bronx River Parkway. No matter which way you go to come back to my house, it's jammed. You have this, you're going to have 75 cars. They want 43 spaces. And they're only allowing 39 based on the review board.
They'll likely require a detailed traffic study to look at all this.
I saw it.
Well, the planning board will look at it. It may
Oh,
not be
okay.
what they think is proper, so they'll look at it and say, we want our own traffic engineer, and Dave Smith, who works in the town, will look at it and comment.
Is the planning board just a little bit going to look at the fact that they said there's going to be three kids as part of the new school system?
Yeah.
That's in the planning, that's in their plan as well.
I heard them say that the other night, too.
So, I mean, you know, you can't treat us like idiots and suggest that, because that's not the case. People want to come to this town, they want to come to the school district.
Yeah.
So, it's a big money grab, it's $1.2 million in rentals per year. That's what this is about. So, I hope the planning board and you guys understand that this is affecting us. They should build something there, something that's conceivable, something for, if you want to make it for senior citizen, then stipulate that's all that's going to be there. You know, if that's what you want to do. But to suggest that someone's going to come here and pay $2,600 a month for a one-bedroom or $3,600 a month for a two-bedroom, they're not going to do it.
We don't determine the market price.
Well, that's what they said.
Yeah, we don't, we
have no control.
we have no control
No,
over
I
that.
get it.
And
I'm
you-
just
we
saying,
live-
that's what I heard and so.
We're blessed. We live in the heart of,
Yes.
of Westchester County. You are correct. There is a lot of traffic. However, if you look at North Kensico, and I've been in Valhalla 42 years, it could use to be revitalized or rehabbed. That particular property was a church many, many years ago, and a lot of it's fallen into disrepair.
Is that a
So
SHPO building?
Is that a what building?
SHPO?
I don't know what that means,
That's
sir.
architectural through the state as a.
A historic, like a historic?
Yes.
Historic, yeah, but that'll be analyzed at the planning level if they want to knock it down, which they plan to, I believe. So
Okay.
I don't know if it is, but they'll send a letter to the state, and the state will respond of whether it is or not.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate
Okay,
your time.
thank you.
Thank you.
That's around the corner.
We have a daycare. We have a new daycare in town.
It's cute.
Lightbridge.
Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, the recommendations that come from the county of Westchester are not mandated requirements. They are suggestions?
They really commented on this, on really the planning issues to look at, make sure stormwater is made, make sure,
Right.
they actually
We do
say
that.
there's too much parking on site, whether you agree with that or not, but that'll be issues from the planning. They, on the zoning issue, they didn't comment on it, other than to say they actually think it follows the Westchester planning 20 whatever year plan to build more housing in downtown areas.
Hi, everyone. My name's Megan DePalma. I live at 101 Prospect Avenue, right across the street from Val. I'm 540 feet from this property. So what I'm a little confused about is if you guys yourselves were shocked there was no signage requirement and no letter requirement, why did you vote on it then? Instead of saying, you know what, something about this isn't kosher, why rezone at the last meeting if you guys yourselves were surprised by this? There was, if this has been going on for a year, a delay of a couple of weeks to have 10 days of signage posting, as would now be required, as of tonight, that's not a hardship after a year. And that would have allowed the neighbors, myself, I drive up and down North Kensico and Cleveland Street every single day, multiple times a day. I would have been here for it. I am hard pressed to believe that if you guys had heard every single argument here at the last meeting, that you would have immediately jumped to rezone. At least I would hope. I would hope that after hearing from the residents, that there would have been a little bit more time and consideration, because obviously there's a lot of opposition from the neighbors here. I also, like everybody else, I just don't, I do agree with revitalizing. The property is an eyesore, it needs to be fixed. I'm in favor of multifamily, but I do think that there's a limit, and I don't know that we needed to rezone in order to meet that limit. If we, under the new planning, the new, what did we call it? The
Master
hamlet?
plan?
Master plan, that's it.
The hamlet zone.
We drew a border. There was a border drawn on that master plan. This property did not fall within that border. If we're just gonna rezone every property that sells
Extension of the
to meet
existing.
what they want it to meet, then what's the
Yes.
point of having the borders in the first place?
It's like an acre, wasn't it?
It's,
It's just rezoned an acre.
I also agree with what everybody else said, that it is unlikely that there will be one car per apartment, because the majority of the county has 2 or more cars per apartment. In the town of Mount Pleasant, about 14% of people use public transportation as their primary means of transportation. So I don't think that that is a particular impact in this case. Something like 50 to 70% of the town are commuting by car alone, or they work from home. The traffic plan that they did look at, and I know this is a planning board issue, but I just want to bring it up here, it only included certain streets. It didn't include the 2 lights by the dam, the one from the Bronx River and the one that you turn onto Park Drive. I drive through there every morning between 6:45 and 7:15 if I'm running real late. The traffic is horrendous. One morning it took me 9 minutes to get from the front of Holy Name to the light in front of the dam. I can't imagine adding possibly 60 more cars on the primary route that goes to White Plains, one of our primary employment hubs, is a good idea. I don't know that our infrastructure can really support something like this, so I really feel, honestly, like this rezoning was premature. I feel like there could have been a lot more notice to the residents, even if there wasn't a certified mailing, because that's another thing I would like to mention for you guys to consider, if you don't mind. Myself and everybody in the neighborhood who got letters from DEP received the letters many days after the hearing was done. It's not necessarily DEP's fault, but the post office is simply overwhelmed, inundated, and did not drop off the notices until after the hearing. So if we could possibly, given the infrastructure of the post office, reconsider the 10-day requirement and possibly extend it further, that would be very appreciated, because we're not made aware of these things until it's too late. So that's all that I would ask. I'd ask you reconsider this rezoning until you really can hear from the residents and the public. Obviously, most people are not necessarily in favor of it. So, thank you.
Understand that the extension of this zone does not determine what's being built there. That's a planning board process.
Correct,
So
but
by
it
us,
permits it.
we're not saying that because we moved this line, you could put 35 units there. That wasn't in the plan. So the planning board will evaluate this, and they'll listen to your comments, everyone else's comments, and determine what might work there and what might not work there. That's their job. So, and we hope that they will do the right thing.
So we just moved the zoning line slightly. It wasn't the entire property that got rezoned.
So from my
It was
understanding.
just that small little section.
No,
On the
that's-
southern end, it was like an acre.
It's less than an acre, it's .89.
0.89.
Right, .89 acres. But that's my point, we rezoned one singular property. So like, I live at 101 Prospect, I have, I think, a third of an acre. If I wanted to put a 3-family house there, I could, but it seems that because I'm slightly further out, you wouldn't rezone my property, but you'll rezone that property. Like, the line is the line as far as.
This
I'm
is part
concerned.
of an extension of the Hamlet zone. That's all it was.
But it's not extending the whole Hamlet zone. It's literally creating an island outside of the Hamlet zone, correct?
No.
No.
It's extending the line of the existing Hamlet zone up to that next property line.
So this also now includes any properties below it that were not included prior.
I think it just goes around.
They were all
It goes
included.
around
Yeah.
it.
They're all
Trying to
included in
find
the
Your
the
house?
Hamlet.
map.
Right, exactly.
It goes
So-
around it.
Okay.
I'm trying to find the map. I can't find it.
Yeah, when I looked at the map, it looked like it's like a little island above it, but I could be misinterpreting, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll be brief, but thank you neighbors for coming out. I am the little lagoon, the little red house that's, gray house with the red porch that's surrounded by this property that's being built. Yes, yes, that house. I know they say the neighborhood looks run down. I think my house looks pretty nice. But anyway.
Your house does look nice, sir.
The point that I'm making, I understand where you are, because I was exactly in your position when I was here on the 11th, and I was the only one here on the 11th from the neighborhood. And that's not your fault, not even my fault. I happened to read it on the way home from work. and got here just in time, and we have one voice to say, oh my God, it's being rezoned. And you guys bring up the same thing, which I agree with them, like you're asking about questions about that will be done when they talk about the actual plan. So that's planning, get that part. I'm not even necessarily, I don't even know if I'm against it. Like, the thing I'm against, which she so eloquently said, is the zoning happens and nobody gets notice. Like, again, I've never lived in a town where that kind of happened, where my entire house is surrounded by 3 sides, but I wasn't told the 3 sides. So the question I do have, because that's kind of, it's like, all right, we can argue about, will it be 10 apartments or 5 apartments? Doesn't matter, it's gonna be apartments now that it's zoned, or something. Now, that's my question for you. What does Hamlet zoning include? Can they put a gas station there next to me?
No, residential zone.
Okay, so it's town residential, so the difference between what it was single family, and now it can only be multifamily? What's allowed there?
Could be multifamily.
It can be in that zone.
It can't be
In the
industrial,
Hamlet
you're not
zone.
gonna put like a lead plant next to it?
No,
Okay.
no.
I'm
And
just making sure, because again, see, these are all questions we would have had on the 11th, but none of us knew what happened on the 11th.
But in the master plan, it describes exactly what can go into the Hamlet zoning, and that's been done for a few years.
Okay.
And you can get that online also and look through the entire master plan that we worked on for over 3 years.
I appreciate that, but apparently none of us had heard about it for 3 years, and all of us have lived there, as you said, 22, I've lived there 21.
The Hamlet zoning was on the other side, one property down from you. And there was, how many meetings on that? 20, 30?
yeah,
That was,
Oh, yeah,
that
no,
was
I-
5 years ago, because that was before
next
I was
door.
on the
Yes.
board.
Yes.
yes.
And I was like, I didn't know about the zoning part. I knew it was being built, and I had no problem. Because the guy told me, he's like, I'm building it, and look here. And I know there were meetings about how it could be built and how many like code violations it had, and that's okay. And I was okay with that too. Again, I might even be okay with this. My challenge, which she said, was this zoning vote happened without anybody here noticing, and now you're seeing, and this is probably just the tip of the iceberg of the people who read Facebook and saw it.
Question.
I am asking for what was proposed, which is, let's have another talk about the zoning before we talk about it.
Were you aware that the zoning on the entire area was changed in the master plan to the Hamlet zone?
No.
That's been done for over 3 years?
I mean,
And that's on
when I
on
joined,
the website, the master plan, you could review everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, that's,
And that was done over 3 years ago. The only change was this small section moving that line up.
That's the only change, and if you were here during that time, if you lived in Mount Pleasant, it was a huge undertaking to do this. Yes, it was interrupted by COVID before we were able to finalize it. But everyone here, and I'm looking at several people that did come out, community meetings, there were events, even at the pool, there was something called Talk About the Master Plan with Pool and Popsicles. There were signs at CVS. We spent an inordinate amount of time on the master plan, and we listened. We were divided into groups. There was also a subcommittee that would sit here, which did not allow any of us to be on the subcommittee, so that the master plan could be as objective as possible. It was time. Mount Pleasant had not had a master plan since, I believe, 70 or 71. 50 years is a long time to go. 50 years for that old church on North Kensico, which has been closed since, I believe, 71, when it was a church and owned by the Archdiocese of New York, is no longer owned by the Archdiocese of New York. So it's a long time coming that area and that entire neighborhood, which will look beautiful once it is revitalized. We're not talking about urban development. We're talking about one particular piece of property that has fallen into disrepair and can be utilized a better way to improve the entire area, the entire neighborhood, and perhaps generate some more business for the local owners and businesses that are down in what we call the village. And I have to use village in quotes because within the town of Mount Pleasant, we have the villages of Sleepy Hollow, Pleasantville, and Briarcliff Manor. We in Valhalla always call Valhalla the village, and it really isn't, so.
so
I'm
this
being
master
careful.
plan from 3 years ago, and I
Yes.
apologize if I missed it, had said that this apartment where the thing is going to be rezoned on May 11th,
No.
1995.
No.
Okay, so you had lots of things about the rezoning, and I love the plan, but you didn't tell anybody about this rezoning that's happening, but you will as of tomorrow.
That little section was an extended version of the plan to just now include this area. I think the master plan, and if you need me to stand up, the master plan that was built 3 years ago was more designed in the commercial areas and not a residential area where everything around this piece of property, because like they said on the map, everything around it is residential. So this master plan that was worked on 3 years ago was more for the whole area of downtown village area, not a residential area with this one church that's now residing in the middle.
Well, that, if you look at the entire master plan that dealt
Which is
with,
why the zone had to be extended.
no, that dealt with Hawthorne, Thornwood, and Valhalla, all three hamlets were discussed in the master plan. They worked on the commercial areas and went into some of the residential areas to improve those. And Hawthorne on Broadway, those areas where zoning was, you could put a nuclear power plant there. That zoning was changed to make it more for residential use than for industrial type use.
Yeah, the whole thought process, like, okay, you hear what you're saying, there's a line, it's here. You didn't care about the line, but the line goes to there, everyone's worried about it. What they thought, this was a dilapidated area that's been a multi-family area in the past. So to let it, to someone wants to come in and build it and said, hey, we would want the hamlet zoning there because we can get, and maybe they want 34 units, maybe they don't get 34 units on the new hamlet zoning. I don't know what the density would allow as you sit here and do the math.
It's not even an acre of land.
Right, whatever the density is under the code. That doesn't mean the planning board's going to allow it, right? So for 3 years, everyone talked about this area being rezoned. And then they said, okay, this dilapidated area should be rezoned too, to include that, so we could spawn some development. Because that's what the developer said. I can't build whatever they want to build there now because it doesn't allow me to make any money. So I can leave it like that for the next 30 years, which I don't know if anyone wants. Maybe you do. But they thought legislatively, let's move it into the zone of hamlet zoning and see what they propose. Yes, they're proposing something big. I would bet the planning board doesn't allow something that big. That's just a guess. They could say, let's do 3 two-family homes or 4 two-family homes. Who knows what they're going to do? But everyone seems to have a problem with, they didn't get notice of this to move the line, 300 feet. They're not going to go into the residential neighborhoods and move. This is a commercial area there. There are residentials in the back. There's no plan to do that. So that was the thought process. For 3 years, it was the next property over. It was I don't know how many properties are in the hamlets. I think there was, I forget the number, and it's in the master plan. I'm pulling it up, but there was hundreds of properties that were rezoned in all the hamlets, including Valhalla. So that one more property was added.
I think revitalizing.
50 lots,
investing
50
money,
lots.
Which is what I did to your brother's house, and what is going on right next door, because I made sure that the person I sold it to is gonna do what I think makes sense, which is to build a nice new house, right? People should make money, and they're taking an investment and taking risk. But what should have been proposed was, well, what are you gonna do if we extend this? And a 34-unit apartment should have been thrown out the window from the beginning, and then, no, you don't get this extension, because that's ridiculous. That's what I want to talk about for, in my opinion. And maybe it doesn't work like that in politics.
We didn't
I get it.
approve a 34-unit building.
No, but you gave them the next step into getting.
We gave him the opportunity to go to the planning board to plead his case.
The zone now allows a lot of things too. I don't know exactly what, I think it's the R10 zone. They would allow certain things, which you may not want either.
It allows exactly this because the developer and the planner said that it meets the code without any need for variances. So they don't have the budget pinch.
So I think the board understands your position. You didn't want it changed to the hamlet zone, right? That's what everyone's saying? Okay.
I'm the most affected. I don't even mind that it was changed to the hamlet zone.
But you're okay with the property right next to it to the hamlet zone? That's just
No,
the fact.
I'm not okay with not being noticed about the rezoning. I don't even care what they know.
And we've said we are reason.
Thank you. Thank you, I just don't want this back and forth.
If it goes, I think they know the position, right? You don't want that property rezoned, that's it. But the next door.
Come on up to the microphone, please.
Okay, it's me again. And I'd rather just show you this. Can I show you something? And this is what got me really, really upset. Here, just if you would like to read it. This was from something, it's a screen print, I can find the article. This is from last June, so this was June of 2024. The way that was written made it seem like if we change this, then nobody can say anything because we're changing the zoning. I mean, reading that.
Expansion of the existing Hamlet zoning, that's what we did.
Right, but the way it says, by getting it into the Hamlet zoning, it doesn't need any variance, Fulgazy said. Councilwoman Danielle said she was excited about the proposal. You did a great job. It's a beautiful building.
It is.
You know,
It is a beautiful building.
It is a beautiful building.
But it's, if it was on a big property on Columbus.
But that doesn't mean we approved it.
Right.
Yeah, but you were like no other approvals, like, you know, if you just.
No, for the Hamlet zoning.
Tony, for the Hamlet, that's the only thing we've approved.
Right, it's not in our,
The planning process hasn't begun yet, Denise.
I know, but Carl, actually, if we were to approve a zoning amendment to include the property in the district, the Hamlet, there would be no other approvals needed other than the site plan.
Right, that's what you have to go, that's the planning board process.
I know,
but the site plan and the size of the building still needs to be approved by the planning board.
I'm just hoping that.
It doesn't mean the planning board's going to approve it.
I'm really hoping that the planning board, like, says, okay, you know, this thing has to be scaled back. Because I know when Lakeside Drive was first being done, because I was friends with Andy Spadafino, so he showed me the rendering, that it was continuous, like a big condo development. And I know that the planning board said, absolutely not. And our builder, Tavalacci, was money hungry, so he said, oh, if I have to do single houses, I'm gonna put them as tight as possible. You know, so that's how he got around it. So, you know, I'm also, you know, if you stop the builder from doing what he does, he might try to circumvent and still, you know, because our
He
builder
has to
did
go
that.
through the approval process.
Okay, I'm just hoping, and you guys don't have any input into what the planning board.
No, it's illegal, basically, for us to tell the
Okay.
planning board
What
how
to
to do
do.
their
Can
job.
maybe the planning board hear this video of all of
Sure.
us?
They've already received an email to watch tonight's meeting.
Thank you.
It was not me, but
Okay, all right, okay.
You're pulling their hair out at this point.
Thank you, bye.
You know, we can go on like this all night.
I think it's important to recall that this master plan is a radical document to start out with, that it really encourages developments like this, apartment buildings, multifamily dwellings. And it's, I think, a little far-fetched to think that a planning board will change this in any way, especially since the developer, Mr. Amicucci, and his planner, Mr. David Smith, stood where I'm standing right here on March 11th and said, this is up to code, it needs no variances. That means that the planning board can't force them to do anything. If they're meeting this code that the planner, Mr. Patrick Cleary, put together, and I think he collaborated in this project, so there's no motivation to change it. The only opportunity is to reopen the hearing from March 11th, which I don't think could hinder anyone, allow the people who reside in the neighborhood of 75 North Kensico Avenue to have input, and then consider whether this really should be rezoned. A developer can make a handy profit on a beautiful one-family home at this location. I really hope that you can consider reopening it.
Anyone else want to address the board? Thank you. We'll move on to the town clerk's report.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Town Clerk's Report, Town Board Meeting, March 25th, 2025. Bid opening for HVAC services for the Town Hall building. Received and filed one planning board resolution for 399 Old Sleepy Hollow Road subdivision, notice of intent to serve as seeker lead agency. 2 zoning board resolutions, the amended zoning resolution for Nannyhagen 420 LLC at 420 Nannyhagen, which showed the incorrect date of filing. And then 2 zoning board resolutions, Gerard Pagello and Marianne Pagello Martin at 6 Davidson Drive. And 1 notice of claim, Paul Schmidt versus Town of Mount Pleasant.
Item 3 would be referred to our town attorney.
Denise.
That one, that's that crazy one?
Moving on to our council reports.
That was, I think, a trade, no.
What's that?
Yeah.
I guess you could tell that normal meetings don't have this many people, so it's a pretty big deal.
We understand that we have a whole agenda to get through, and we heard you guys for over an hour. We hear you, we do. So we'll finish our meeting, and then we'll go into the office and discuss. Thank you. And do people not know how the meetings are run?
Councilman Siliano's not here.
I'll be the honored guest to
Laura,
begin
you
to
gotta
do.
read the Controller's memo?
Yes, thank you. This week's Controller's memo comes from our Controller, and the first item is GF prepared expenses for Assured Partners Northeast LLC and PERMA. The total there is
Really concerned about the operation of our
$620.56. From the Controller's Office, WCMCTA March meeting, total $40. Town Clerk Card Member Services, total $650.28. Attorney, Bond, Schoenig and King, P.LLC, Harris Beach, P.LLC, and the total there is $29,370.48. Building, Town Hall, Clean Air Quality Service Incorporated, total $2,134.50. Oh boy, this is a hard one. Unallocated insurance. The Charter Oak Fire Insurance Company, TRA, total $700,044. Prepaid expenses, PERMA, total $201,806. Parks, Rogers Base Company, LLC. This is for a change-up base set with youth baseball, and this is for a total of $1,818.22. Youth programs, U.S. Sports Institute Incorporated, Jennifer Intercola and Jennifer Olachek. These are instructors. The total there is $9,111.95. Highway machinery, CNC Hydraulics and Power Plan, Jesco John Deere Power Plan. Total $7,678.75. Highway General Capital Project, Charles A. Manganero. This is for approved design, Phase 1 of the Elmwood Avenue streetscape. Total $20,847.50. Kensico Capital Projects, Card Member Services, and Granger Incorporated. Total $1,293.40. Prepaid expenses, PERMA, 2025 annual contributions, New York State assessment, dividend, total $8,728. Prepaid expenses, PERMA, 2025 annual contribution, New York State assessment, dividend, again, total $2,941. Prepaid expenses for PERMA, once again, total $11,182. Once again, PERMA, 2025 annual contributions, New York State assessment, dividend, total $29,225. Pecanico Water District Number 1, Charles A. Manganero, annual inspection, New York State DEC regulations, and dam safety, total $1,855. Kensico Water, Ross Valve Manufacturing, total $5,804.50. Trust and Agency Escrow, Cleary Consulting, 3 entries, total $1,800. The grand total for this week's Controller's Memo is $1,861. $861,496.14. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. As one of my predecessors would say, we have to pay the bills. Okay. The next item from the comptroller is a vendor number 3550, Logically. This is for UPS replacement unit. Total there is $2,377.13. Time and materials, $175. Shipping, $100. The total cost is $2,652.13. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That's the end of the comptroller's memo for this evening.
Thank you. Councilwoman Zeno.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, fellow board member, town clerk, and residents. My first agenda is from our Parks and Rec Department, purchase order 70-25-37, vendors Playground Medic. This is safety surfacing for the town playgrounds. There will be 2 deliveries of 100 cubic yards of engineered wood playground safety surfacing. Price per delivery, $2,950 for a total of $5,900. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. My next item is purchase order 70-25-38 from our rec department. The vendor is Mega Funworks. This is a camp trip for Camp Escape Squad to Splashdown Beach. The cost of the trip is included in the enrollment fee for camp. And the total cost will be based on, obviously, how many kids end up enrolling. Total cost is $7,669. Move for approval.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Just a couple of announcements from our rec department. Summer camp registration is open, and there are spots still available for all grade levels. The Adult Cornhole League is filling up fast, so please put your team name in soon. Town Easter programs. The Flashlight Egg Hunt will be Thursday, April 3rd for grades 3 through 6. The Funny Bunny Extravaganza will be Friday, April 4th, grades K to 3rd. The Spring Egg Hunt will be Saturday, April 5th, pre-K through 2nd grade. You can find all detailed information on the above-mentioned programs on our Parks and Rec website. Thank you.
Moving on to Councilman Saraceno's. I think Danielle, you'll handle it?
Yes, I will do the Highway Department. First item is Resolution 175-25. This comes from Rich Banquet, Highway Superintendent, authorization to auction town vehicles and equipment per current agreement with Auctions International. He has a list of items here: speed plows, welding plows, Ford Escape, Chevy Capri, and a spreader. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item from Rich Banquet, again from Highway, Resolution 176-25, authorization to promote Christopher Schrenk to foreman at the Highway Department effective March 26, 2025, salary per 2025 budget. This position was vacated by William Scapplehorn due to his recent promotion. Mr. Schrenk's qualifications met all the requirements for this position. If approved, this will become effective Wednesday, March 26th. Move for approval.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, Resolution 177-25, again from Rich Banquet. He's requesting authorization to promote Matt Kramer from motor vehicle Motor Equipment Operator 2 to Motor Equipment Operator 1. Position was vacated by William Scapelhorn last October when he was promoted from Motor Equipment Operator to Foreman. Mr. Kramer's qualifications met all the requirements for this position. Salary increase based on current union agreement. This promotion is within the adopted 2025 budget. If approved, this will become effective Wednesday, March 26, 2025. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 178-25, again from Rich Banquet, authorization to promote Chris Grispin from Motor Equipment Operator 2 to Motor Equipment Operator 1. Position has been vacated by John Coletti due to his recent resignation. Mr. Grispin's qualifications meet all the requirements. Salary increase based on the current union agreement. The promotion is within the adopted 2025 Highway Department budget. If approved, this will become effective Wednesday, March 26, 2025. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 179-25, again from Rich Banquet, authorization to hire Joseph Marone of Pleasantville as a full-time road maintainer for the Highway Department. We are very pleased with Mr. Marone during his many seasonal terms of employment. His salary will be based on the current union agreement, and this full-time position is within the adopted 2025 highway budget. If approved, pending a physical exam and pre-employment drug test, this will become effective Wednesday, March 26, 2025. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Smalley.
I have one item this evening from the Police Department, and that is from Chief Paul Oliva, authorization to enter into a license agreement with the town of North Castle for installation of police communication equipment. This is an example of us working together with another municipality. The license agreement, which will hopefully begin at some point during March of 2025, between the town of North Castle with a business location at Town Hall, 15 Bedford Road, Armonk, and the town of Mount Pleasant with a business location at 1 Town Hall Plaza in Valhalla. North Castle owns a water tower tank located off of Custis Avenue, which is identified on the town of North Castle tax map as 112.123-3-12, herein called the property. And North Castle holds an easement over the neighboring property located at 44 Custis Avenue. Mount Pleasant seeks to place emergency services equipment on and around the water tower tank owned by North Castle on the property. And we will be seeking an easement over the neighboring property to access the property. The reason being is that communication needs to increase, and the police departments and the towns are willing to work together to do this. I think this is a positive move, and I ask for approval, please. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That's it from the police department this evening.
Darius, our town attorney, I believe, has the
Yes, we
tax
do.
certiorari.
Yeah, we have 5 tax certiorari settlements. One is for Cliff Walk Sleepy Hollow LLC at 193 Beekman Avenue. It's for 2 years, 2016 and 17. Approximate refund is only $100. The next one is for 222 North Washington Street in Sleepy Hollow. It's for 2 years, 2022 and 2023, and the approximate reduction is $250 in refunds. The next one is for 879 Franklin Avenue in Mount Pleasant. It's for 5 years, 19 through 23, and this was settled for approximate refund of $7,000 for those years. And also for 150 Bedford Terrace in Pleasantville for the years 18 through 23. Approximate refund is $2,000. And the final one is for 7 Skyline Drive in Mount Pleasant, and that is for 3 years, 22 through 24. The approximate refund is $32,000. I'd ask the board to consider a motion to approve those tax certiorari settlements, which are negotiated with counsel for the petitioners, the assessor, the town attorney's office, and the school district has been involved too.
Thank you. Motion?
I'll move for approval.
I'll
Motion by
second.
Danielle,
I'll second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our schedule of meetings, our next work session is Tuesday, April 1st at 7 PM. Our business session is Tuesday, April 8th at 7 PM. If there be no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
second by Danielle. Thank you.
Good
Meeting
night.
adjourned.
Thank you.
Good night.